Peace. Peace. How's everybody doing? Peace and blessings to everybody. Hope you all are doing well. Before I go live on the Insight Timer app, for everybody who watches this on Instagram, I want to thank you all for supporting this book, Easy, A Guide to Mindfulness and Meditation. This book teaches kids 8 to 12 how to meditate, how to be mindful. It is written in an educational fashion, an easy to understand fashion so that kids can read it, enjoy it, love it. It has a glossary. It has questions for reading comprehension at the end of every chapter. It discusses ways to use breathing techniques, visualization techniques, affirmation techniques, and self-love as a means of elevating these children and making them feel powerful, helping them tap into the strength within themselves, helping them to self-regulate, helping them to just love themselves and see things as they are. You know, our children are struggling, and this is just my contribution to helping them deal with some of the things that they're struggling with. So thank you to everybody who supported, but everybody who hasn't had a chance to, of course, you can pick up a copy of the book at www.devinmccrory.com. That's DEVINMCCROREY. All right. Thank you all very much for your contribution, for your time. And we're going to get started in a couple of seconds. Let me just get ready to go live on Insight Timer, and we can get things started. So I hope everybody who sees this, I hope y'all doing well. Hope y'all finding peace. Hope y'all finding everything that you need and more. Remember, the universe is abundant. Don't ever settle for just enough. Peace and blessings to Insight Timer. If you in the building, let me know you in the building. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, beloved. How y'all doing today? Forgive me if I seem a little bit tired. It's been a long day. I got my sons. They had me running around at the park. Then they running around here. I'm trying to cook. It's been a busy day. So if you're here, let me know you're here. Insight Timer, Instagram, YouTube, everybody all around the world. Thank y'all for coming. Peace and blessings, Rita. Glad you're here. Who else we got in the building? All right. Glad to see that you're here. I'm going to get started soon. I always start at about the 7-minute mark on Insight Timer. So we're like 1 minute in. Robin, how you doing? From Canada, okay. Glad to see you from Canada. Glad to see people are tuning in from far. I'm good, Rita. I'm really good. I'm just a little tired. That's all. It's been a long day. But I feel good though. I've been going more into my meditation. I've been going more into, eating right and getting exercise. I really do feel excited. How about you, Rita? How are you? Robin, how are you? Breathe is always a good thing. Breathing is always a good thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about breath tonight. All right, glad to hear that. You're on vacation, okay. Excellent. Hopefully somewhere nice and quiet. Hopefully somewhere beautiful. Somewhere safe, most importantly. So we're just waiting to see who else rolls in with us. I know last week I did something on trauma disguised as desire. Got a lot of positive feedback from that one. This week I'm doing the body as the doorway to God. I'm thinking about doing another one about how I dealt with mindfulness and meditation. I dealt with anxiety and depression through mindfulness and meditation. I'm going to be I want to put together a course for that. I wonder if Insight Timer will let me put together a course for that, where I could just talk about my own personal experiences and go over the science of it a little bit, because I found it to be extremely helpful for me in some real dark times in my life. So I think I might touch on that a little bit next week. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people might need. So cool. So we're like 3 minutes in. We're just gonna wait for a few more minutes to see who else joins us, and then we'll begin. And tonight's topic, like I said, is the body as the doorway to God, which may sound a little convoluted. It might sound a little mystical, but I think we can clarify that a little bit and break it down a little bit. Yeah, the staycation reader. Yeah, sometimes you need those. Cassandra, hello. Glad to see you here. We're gonna get started soon. I usually start. I was just saying I started at the 7 minute mark. I like that number 7. So when 7 minutes hit, we'll get started. Right now, I'm about almost 4 minutes in. So a few more minutes, we'll see who else joins us tonight. Cleaning house mentally and physically. Yeah, that's what I'm doing tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow I won't have time tomorrow. Cause tomorrow I'm doing an interview with a friend of mine who is a yoga teacher, and gotta make a bunch of phone calls. Yeah, so I'll probably end up doing that this weekend. And I am taking a class this weekend, a breathwork class. Like 7-2, yeah, that number 7. That number 7 is it's a sacred number. It means divinity. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm going to be taking a breathwork class. So I think I'm going to go back to doing more meditations. I used to do I used to do these every Wednesday night, these live streams, and I would do 2. One was the first one was at 10:10. It was a meditation, and then the second one will be at 11:11. And I've just been doing the 11:11 ones, but I think I might do a few meditations. So I thought I learned a few things with breath work. I think I'll start incorporating that into these live streams. I think people could benefit from them. I took a breath introductory class for breath work, and it was like they taught us one breathing technique, and it was just you immediately feel revitalized and energized by it. So I think it'd be cool if I start bringing a little bit of that here. I don't want to take anybody else's knowledge and steal it, but I will utilize it if I can benefit you guys. I will bring you some of what I learned to benefit you guys. I think that'll be kind of cool. So we're gonna get started. We're almost at the 7 minute mark. For anybody who's watching on any of the platforms, we'll begin shortly. Cassandra, how was your day? Now, everybody else who's here, who I'm not seeing on the screen, how was your day? Let us know if you're okay. Let us know if things are going good. All right, we're at the 6 minute mark. Take a little sip of water. We'll get started real soon. Oh, you didn't do anything? You're injured? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Cassandra. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully you'll bounce back and be back at it again. We'll be sending you some positive energy. Tired from joy? Oh, Chris, congratulations. Congratulations. Your daughter had a baby. All right, congratulations. All right. Granddad Chris. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, we're getting ready to roll up on a 7 minute mark. So let's get started. Take a nice deep breath. It's so what I was thinking about this week when I was putting this together. There was so much I wanted to cover, and I realized that sometimes I overdo it. I think too big, but I want to begin. I want to begin because I think that it's very important for us to recognize the utility of the body for spiritual exercise. I think so many of us, like myself, I'll use myself as an example. I was raised as a Pentecostal Christian. As a Pentecostal Christian, there is a little bit of shame that is utilized, sometimes wisely, sometimes not wisely. And I think that some of us are taught because of our upbringing to be ashamed of the body. We're taught that the body is born in sin, which is no disrespect to anybody who's a Christian, but it's a terrifying idea that you're born in sin. The idea that the body is corrupted, the idea that the wages of sin is death. So your sin is birth and you're going to die because you were born corrupted. That's a scary thing, right? And then over the centuries, people have rebelled against that idea, but they've rebelled against it and they've gone so far in the other direction that now they have this mentality where the body is only a vessel for immediate gratification. So on the one hand, you have to suppress all of your desires and be ashamed of the body. On the other hand, you're being taught that the body is this amazing vessel for just pleasure and to seek pleasure and only pleasure and never hold back from any of your impulses. And I think that the middle ground, somewhere in the middle of that, or maybe even a combination of those ideas, can put us in the right mindset where we can learn how to use the body, not only as far as health, not only as far as happiness, not only as far as pleasure, but we can also use the body as a spiritual tool. Now, this is something that I've studied for a very, very, very long time. I studied spirituality for years and years and years of my life. And one thing that I realized is that a lot of the ancients, right, they knew certain things that we don't know. And of course, there's been all these theories that, the ancient Egyptians learned about the use of electricity from aliens. They built the pyramids because of aliens. The Aztecs, they had all this technology because of aliens. The Dogon, which is a tribe in Africa, the Dogon tribe, they knew about the structure and shape of the atom, and they call it atom Alma's egg. They knew about the structure and shape of the atom because of aliens from the planet Sirius came down. Or one time I mentioned in one of my live streams that there was a festival where they would enact the movement of the patterns of the stars, and there's one star called Sirius, right? And they would dance around dressed as Sirius and go in a rotation, go in orbit. But there was also another person who was dressed as another star. Sirius they called Tolo. The other star is called Fiji-Tolo. And Fiji-Tolo would dance around Sirius. And then scientists from the West would see that and they would say, well, that's ridiculous. Sirius doesn't have a star that orbits around it. But then when they developed a telescope strong enough, they saw that, yes, there is actually a star that rotates around Sirius that it's impossible for the human eye to see, but there's the smallest. Hey, favorite diva, what's up? There's a smaller star that orbits around Sirius every 48 years or something like that, or every 60 years, and they knew about this. And a lot of people say, well, they had this knowledge because aliens. They had this knowledge because it was just a lucky guess. But what I think that they are individuals who mastered their bodies and were so in tune with nature, with their bodies, that they could sense these things. They found out that the body is a valuable spiritual tool. No, that's okay, favorite Dave. It's all good. I'm glad you're here. I didn't see you in a long time either. Glad you're here with us. So yeah, going back to what I was saying. We as human beings have been taught to either use our body primarily for pleasure, use our body primarily for suppression and shame, but we could use our bodies as a means of sensing the things going on around us, and by looking within ourselves to find our own divine power. And even I'll go as far as to saying you have to find God within you. You have to find God within you. We're trained to look externally for divine force, for God somewhere up there, for some spook floating around in the clouds. But if God is supposed to be incomprehensible, immortal, infinite, untouchable, unseeable, with infinite depth that none of us could ever understand, if that's supposed to be God, how can we understand that God? You can't understand that God until you understand yourself. And by looking within yourself, you're going to find the essence of that being, right? Now, I want you to look at, I've been doing this for like the last month or so. I keep talking about the Bible, right? I'm not religious, but there's wisdom there. Let's look at the Bible. Let's look at the book of Genesis. One of my favorite books in the Bible. Actually, probably my favorite Bible book because it's so mysterious. In the book of Genesis, it says that God made Adam from the earth. So he basically made an inanimate lump of clay and shaped it in the shape of a human body, right? Well, then he did something unique and strange. He breathed the breath of life into this lump of clay, and the lump of clay became a living being, right? Now think about that for a second. The essence of God, that breath, the word that they use in Hebrew is ruach. Ruach means spirit. So the breath of God, the spirit of God dwells inside of us. That's how we're animate in the first place. If you think about it, your body is made of the elements from the universe, made from the elements of stars, made from the elements of the earth, made from the elements of the food that you eat, made from water, right? None of those things have consciousness. How do you take all these unconscious things, put them together, and then create this wonderful marvel that we call the human body? Whatever terminology you want to use, in essence, the life force that's within us comes from outside, from somewhere. comes from the divine, and that divine breath is inside of us, and that's how we live in the first place, right? So if you want to get to know God, God left you something inside you. That breath, that spirit is a piece of himself that he left with you, right? So that's why it's very important for us to understand breath. But let's ask some deeper questions. What's going on? Peace and blessings. Let's ask some deeper questions, right? The ruach, or the spirit, exists within the body. If God blew the breath of life into us, if God has breath, that means God has a body, right? Now, these are just my musings. These are just my ruminations. But by understanding our body, we can understand the body of God. Because if God has a breath, breath is spirit. If God has a spirit within him, then that must mean that, right? He must have a body, correct? And it says that God blew the breath of life into Adam. The what's the term? Ruach HaKadosh, which means the Holy Spirit, into Adam, and made Adam a nefesh, a living soul or living being. So Adam became a living soul once he partook of the breath of God, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKadosh. So if God has a Ruach, God has a body. Our body has breath. Where is God's breath? Within God, within the body of God. Now, this sounds strange, and this is we're talking very mystically now, right? And there's a reason why we're talking mystically. It's a reason why we're going into this realm, and it's a reason why I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm saying. This is very important information. Actually, this is not a strange new idea. The idea of a physical God is not, it's not a strange idea at all. In ancient, around the time of the Bible and before the Bible, there was what they call Jewish mysticism. And then all this Jewish mysticism was around. What's going on? Peace, 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 Tribal Chief Los. So all this ancient Jewish mysticism, right, for years and years and years, held these kind of these strange beliefs. They were strange, but they were written around the time and sometimes even before the Bible. And these beliefs were around for a very, very long time. And there's a form of Jewish mysticism, mystical literature called Hikalah literature. Hikalah literature is basically about humans who journey to the different regions of heaven and encounter spiritual beings there, and they get a deeper understanding of reality, right? The Hikalah is the palace, and then there's the Merkava. The Merkava is the chariot, or the light body that takes you to these outer realms. So the chariot, the light body, takes you to these outer realms. You go to heaven, you see God, right? But there's one particular book called the Shior Koma. Shior Koma is actually a book, a Jewish mystical book, that means, the term means divine dimensions. It means the measurements of the Godhead, things of that nature. It has a various ways you can translate it, but essentially what that book is about is the physical dimensions of the supreme being of the universe, right? So the book is very audaciously saying, and some people say blasphemously saying, that God has a body, that there's a physical body. Now, this might sound strange, but the book is interesting because the book gives us a lot of measurements. The book is very mathematical, right? And I was trying to find a copy of it. I could only find books about it, and I found bits and pieces of it here and there. I couldn't find a full PDF copy of it. But what it's basically saying is that each book, the book itself gives you a measurement of God's various body parts. Each measurement of his body has a mathematical code that reveals one of God's secret names, or so the text says. These names had a magical vibration that brought the soul closer to the utmost mystery of God. Your body has a vibration. That's why we have a heartbeat. We have an eardrum. We have vital organs. Our body was designed to be a musical instrument, playing in harmony with the music of the spheres, so that we could play in harmony and move in harmony with the divine essence of God himself. But this was not a mystical, spooky God floating around in the heavens. They were telling you that this God is physically present. Physically, why would they emphasize that? Why would they say that God is physically present? Why would they give you the dimensions of God? Why would they say God's height, his breadth, his body, his shape? Why would they even do that? Because they want you to see God within yourself. And some of that Hikalah literature, the palace and chariot literature, that describe the various journeys of souls and spirits as they traveled into heaven. There's some that say that Enoch, remember the prophet Enoch from the Bible, who it says that God took Enoch. God took Enoch and Enoch was gone. That one little verse, well, there's whole books written about Enoch, the books of Enoch. And the books of Enoch, hey, what's going on? In the books of Enoch, what are they talking about? Well, what are the books of Enoch is talking about? Enoch taking a journey and going into heaven and being transmuted into a higher spiritual being. He becomes the Metatron, the voice of God, right? And then some of the Hekalot literature even says that if you could make the journey into heaven, make it past the guardians, make it past the angels, make it past the forces of light that are terrifying and will shatter human sanity, you can actually sit in the throne of God and become divine yourself. But all of this was an experience that was expected to happen to you here and now in the present, to your body, in your body. You would have a divine body. Even in the New Testament of the Bible, Paul will talk about how after you die and your body is decayed, you'll be given a new body, an immortal body. And I believe that that's possible now for us to, and we all know if you eat healthy, eat certain foods, pray, meditate, focus the mind in certain ways, you actually live longer. Individuals who walk this spiritual path, I realize I don't get sick anymore. I can't even remember the last time I got sick. I'm walking that spiritual path. My body is changing now. It's evolving. Now, I'm not going to sit here and sound crazy like, I'm not going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die. But my body is improving. I am taking steps towards becoming more and more divine because I see the divine within myself. My body has become the vessel of my worship. The vessel and the object of my worship. Why shouldn't we make offerings to this flesh and eat proper food and drink water and sleep and exercise and meditate and do yoga, right? These are the offerings that we leave at the divine temple of our own flesh, divine temple of our own body, and look within ourselves and see that ruach, that breath of life. Ruach HaKodesh, that Holy Spirit. You're alive and breathing because inside you is a Holy Spirit. And it's hard to put it into words. So when you describe these things, it might sound crazy. It might sound blasphemous. It might sound intimidating to some people to hold on to these concepts, right? Because we've been trained for a very long time to see our bodies as the opposite of that. We've been trained to see our bodies as cursed, born in sin. Remember that? Remember that phrase? Bodies born in sin. They use words like corruptible. The body is corruptible, meaning that it can decay, right? The body can get sick, right? So we've been trained to use this subtle language that has programmed us to think of ourselves as being unworthy. And the only way you can be worthy is by dying and leaving the body behind. We've never been taught a religion of physicality until we put religion aside and then start utilizing spiritual tools and spiritual techniques to develop what they call I was reading one article that was talking about the importance of ritual, and they used the phrase technology of the body, which I think is appropriate. We should be using the technology of the body. We have a body. We should master this technology to see what it can do. You read all these stories about these masters who can use the energy around their bodies. And I was reading one article, and this is a scientific article that was saying that consciousness actually has a bearing on reality. That if you shoot a beam of light of a certain frequency at a person, if they concentrate on that beam of light, they can move it. Maybe not a whole mile, maybe not, 10 feet. But they can move it just a little bit just by their physical presence and the focus of their mind. So our bodies, within our bodies lies a dormant power that we don't fully understand. But we ignore that so we can look way up there and say, where's God? Where's God? Where's God? But before we look up there, shouldn't we look here first and understand this first? If God made you in his image, shouldn't you look at yourself so you can try to see what God is? I mean, that makes sense to me. And some might find this conversation blasphemous. And I understand that. But I think a big part of finding it blasphemous is not because I'm saying anything wrong or disrespectful. It's simply because I'm saying something that goes against programming. We've been conditioned to think of ourselves as monsters. What if you were conditioned from the very beginning and told you were divine as opposed to being told you were born in sin? I mean, when I was a little kid, I had a sense of shame when it came to certain things that were like sexual. I remember when I was I think I was like 6 or 7. I was in church with my parents, and the pastor in church was talking about the evils of sex. And then I thought, and I had just learned from somewhere that, never thought about it like that, Cassandra? Yeah. And the thing about it is that when I was, I forgot where I learned it. I can't even recall. Maybe I asked my parents where babies come from, and they told me the babies come from adults having sex. And then you go to church like a week later, the pastor's talking about how evil sex is. So I'm thinking my parents are sinners. My parents are sinners, and I'm born in sin because they had some sex. and they had me. And keep in mind, my parents were, young, but they were married. This is way back in the day. It's like I was born 41 years ago. So my parents were married. They've been together for a long time. But I was taught, I felt like sex was sinful. That's how I was raised to think. And that affected me. That affected me in a lot of real strange ways as I got older. But my point is that we have this indoctrinated shame of the body. And I think that the body can be a doorway to connect into a higher power. Individuals are and this is something I've experienced with myself while meditating one day. I was listening to some music, went into a nice, deep meditation trance. And then on the app, I was using the Insight Timer app. I programmed my meditation session to have a starting bell and an ending bell. And I remember that particular time when I heard the ending bell go boom. I wasn't listening with my ears anymore. My whole body was listening to the music. My whole body absorbed the vibration of that sound. So I realized that music is something that you listen to and enjoy with your whole body, right? Yeah, you know what, Journey? And yeah, I think a lot of us have put aside organized religion because of that, right? Because we've been taught the concept that the body is gross and that the mind and the spirit are pure. Why can't all of them be pure? We exist as a continuum. We don't exist in a vivisectionist fashion when you take the arms over here and take the heart over there and take the mind over there. No, the heart, the mind, the soul, all of it works together. It's a continuum. So if we understand ourselves as a continuum, if the soul can be pure, the soul can be perfect, and my body can be pure, my body can be perfect. Why not? Why can't keep in mind that the Bible says that God incarnated as Christ? Well, that's what some people believe. They believe God incarnated as Christ. Human body can't be that bad. There's a scripture in the book of Genesis where it says Abraham looked and saw three men walking, and one of them was the Lord. That was a physical incarnation. Human body can't be that bad. The angels in heaven in the book of Enoch saw the daughters of men and was like, man, they look kind of good. Human body can't be that bad. They left heaven to come down and be with human women, looking at all that flesh. Came down to enjoy themselves. Human body can't be that bad. But we've been taught shame. And then on top of that, a lot of people are going in the opposite direction, as I mentioned earlier. So they're going from shame to, hey, let's push as hard as we possibly can in the opposite direction and enjoy everything that life has to offer. Exactly. Our body is a temple. We have to love and cherish it. Exactly. Now, this is the question. This is the problem. And that's a very good point. I'm glad you pointed that out. The problem is that a lot of people think that cherishing the body and loving the body means immediate gratification. So let's talk about this. And I'm going to ask this question. And I normally don't do this, but if you guys are with it, let me just ask the question. What does it mean to love the body? What does it mean to cherish the body? Because if I want sex, right, and I decide I'm going to get it no matter what, I'm fulfilling my body's biological urge for intimacy and sex. Am I cherishing and loving my body when I do that? What do we mean by that? Let's be as specific as possible. And I want you guys to put your answers in the chat. I normally don't do that, but I want to be a little more interactive. I want you guys to join in with me because this is our thing. We're all sitting by the campfire now. You know what I mean? We got a dead rabbit. We roasted up some rabbit. Somebody pouring glasses of wine. We all at the campfire now. So let's go. What do you think it means to love the body and cherish the body? Anybody got any? Right, sex and intimacy are not always connected. To respect the way it is, feed it with good and fresh food, accept it for what it is, not too thin or too big, appreciating our senses and strength, nourishing the body. All these are really good answers. Anybody else got anything they want to add to it? Listening to, oh, that's a good one. Listening to the body. Yep, and I like, Janice, I like the fact that you said nourish the body with good food and feed our minds. Feeding the mind is, I think, a part of proper nutrition for the body. Rest when you need to rest. Rebecca, thank you very much. That's true. All of these answers are right. Now let me go. I've opened up a question. Yeah. Mind connection. Favorite diva, thank you. Wow, live for the day to do with one. I had breast cancer in 2004. Could die tomorrow. Wow, Cassandra, listening to your gut. Well, Journey, you know what? We're looking forward to that day too. I want you to enjoy life to the fullest as well too. And I'm glad that you're still here with us. Align with our values, and that's where I was going, Shanti. Thank you. Does the body need a moral code? We want to listen to our bodies and respect our bodies, right? But I feel like a lot of our older morals are being thrown away. Does the human body need morals? Sex must be consensual and mutual. All right, so let's answer that question. Do you guys feel like the body needs morals? And I'm I have an opinion as well. And I was just talking to I remember before I moved down to where I am now, there was a friend of mine. I had known her for a long time. Great person, very talented, very talented person. And we were driving around. It was a Sunday afternoon. Um, and we were just having a really good time, having a really great conversation, chilling with each other. And we kind of came into this conversation, and she started talking about spiritual development with sex, and she felt like there were too many rules, and that people had the freedom to kind of break boundaries and do as they choose. And she felt like that was good for the body. And of course, me being me, maybe because I'm kind of like old fashioned, I kind of felt the opposite. I kind of felt like, you know, doing whatever you want to do is not necessarily the same as doing what's going to benefit you. And no disrespect to my friend, but I'm a results oriented person. And whenever somebody gives me their philosophy, I want to look at their life and see how they're living and see if they're living the life they want and if they're happy or if they're confused and miserable. So I feel the body does need regulation just to function, just to be in a state of homeostasis, just to prolong your life and prolong your existence. Now let's go a little step further. Do we need morality? Do we need bodily morality, or can we use bodily morality to tap into God? Now, I use the word morality. I know that's kind of an antiquated word. I just don't have a replacement for it. But will your bodily morality bring you closer to God? We have rules in our culture. We used to have rules about sex, for instance. Everybody felt like you have to get married to have sex. Nowadays, we kind of threw that out the window. People can have sex whenever they want. Can that be used as a path to God? Depends on what lessons we need to learn. Okay. So can you, Tanis, can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Body needs discipline as everything. Thank you very much for that. I agree. Fasting can be a way. Okay. Awesome. And I want you to V2, I want you to break that down a little bit too. How can you use fasting as a way of finding God, as a doorway to God? And y'all can just break that down a little bit. I'll keep going. I'll keep talking. But I just really wanted you guys to let me know what you think and how you feel. And as you guys think of those answers. That's a good point, Tanis. That's a really good point. In some lives, discipline is an important lesson, while in others, freedom and liberation is an important lesson. And that's very true as well. And maybe I think that's probably the crux of that conversation that me and my friend were having. Maybe I need to be a little more free. And maybe she needs to be a little bit more disciplined. That's a really good point. Because we live in a multi-dimensional universe with a multifaceted consciousness. They say the human brain is an 11-dimensional device that can take in sensory input and tap into other realms of reality. So we're looking at multiple dimensions whenever we think about any concept or look at anything. So I think it's very, very important that we understand that for some people it's going to work, for some people it's not going to work. I get that. That's a really great point. Everything is and that's a good point too, Mama B. Everything is balance, and I think that'll bring it right on back home. Balance. We have to sustain balance. We have to have a balance between freedom and liberation and restraint. Because right now we're witnessing the downfall of Babylon. We're seeing everybody push everything as far as they can, changing the rules, changing definitions of everything, and more people are unhappy, depressed, and anxious. So I think that you can go too far in the direction of freedom, but I think you can also go too far in the direction of trying to repress and hold back your emotions. People need ethics and morals. Yeah, and I think that's the foundation. I think that on the one hand, there's a lot of individuals who are saying we need more freedom, get rid of shame, get rid of judging people, right? We get rid of shame, we get rid of judging people, we get rid of anything that holds you back. And then those same individuals will cry and complain when somebody with no morals and no shame hurts them. We say get rid of shame and get rid of morals until somebody with no morals and no shame screws us over. I think it's very important that we understand that when we put these philosophies out there, that these philosophies are going to affect us. And if not directly, it's going to affect, individuals around us. So it's important that we watch what we say and watch what we ask for. Bodies and teachers that are not more actually the teachers. Yeah, I think that's a good point, Tennis. I think a lot of times what happens is we get hurt because it's something we need to learn. But I think that ultimately a moral code, once you have a code, you can avoid those traps. Because I think a lot of times too many of us have learned the hard way. Too many of us have learned by, using our own bodies for these dangerous experiments. Whereas other individuals in the past who had these experiments and had these experiences, they left a code of conduct and said, hey, follow this code, follow these principles, and that will keep you safe. I think too many of us want to be astronauts and want to go out into the unknown. But very little of this is unknown. We've had a lot of individuals who have taken this journey in the past and they know where they're going. And they've given us maps, but we're throwing the maps away because we feel like we're throwing the maps away because the maps require us to not pursue immediate gratification. The maps require us to pursue civilization. The maps require us to pursue harmony. The maps require us to pursue sacrifice for the greater good. And the minute you start going on that path, that means you're going to have to put down the cigarettes and put down the liquor and put down the sleeping around and put down the lying and put down the deception. And a lot of people are just not ready for that. But once you find that balance point where you're able to explore freedom, but at the same time use judgment and discernment, I think that is when you can utilize the body as a tool to find God, because your physical experiences are going to guide you. Especially when you're walking a righteous path and you have a moral code and you're eating the right foods and you're being mindful and you're meditating, your body will guide you. Okay, well, good night. Thank you for staying up with us. But your body will guide you. That's the body was designed for that. Your body was not designed to be just a vessel for the mind. Your body was designed to be a teacher for the mind and a guide for the mind as well. Like, for instance, I know y'all all have felt this, especially if you're empathic. If you're an individual who sits down next to somebody and you talk about, and you feel what? Sometimes you'll feel their energy. You'll feel their vibe without them saying anything. Sometimes you'll meet somebody and you'll just feel like, something ain't right. And you'll be friendly, you'll be polite. Hey, how you doing? Shake their hand. You keep it moving because your body feels something. Your body is guiding you. Now, what if you had a body that was eating nutritional food and getting the right amount of water, the right amount of sleep, the right amount and the right amount of mental stimulation as well? Then what would happen? Your body would act as your guide and your protector. You're right, Rita. Not everybody has access to good food or clean water, but I feel like that's one of the things that we discussed in one of my live streams as well. How individuals who want to be good people, righteous people, have to be more aggressive. We have to be compassionate, but more aggressive. I think too many of us are afraid of being offensive, afraid of really stepping to the forefront and saying we're taking over, because we've been taught that being passive is the road to spirituality. And you're right, not everybody has good, clean food and water. You look at Flint, Michigan, a place where people are being forced to bathe in lead tainted water. All the righteous people in America should have stood up and said something. We stood back because we felt like to be passive was righteous. We felt like to say nothing was the right thing to do. We felt like this is our spiritual journey, and our spiritual journey requires us to be as submissive to authority as possible. Now, imagine if all the righteous people in America, myself included, I'm not painting a picture of myself as some holier than thou person, but I should have spoke up more too. You're from Flint? Crazy times? Dana? Man, man, I know you've been through all kinds of stuff there. Now imagine if everybody stood up for you the way we should have. We should have stood up for you. We should have stood up for you. But going back to what we were talking about, the body is a vessel that was designed specifically, just like they talk about these back in the old days before we had all these boats and all these radars and satellites. A turtle would be able to navigate the entire globe. They have something in their brain that makes it so that they don't get lost. Something in their brain is sensitive enough where it could follow the electromagnetic pull of the planet, and it could find the same island on the other side of the planet every single year and just keep moving. It's amazing. But now, because all this external stuff is going on, they can't use their body to guide them anymore. And it's the same thing happening with us. There's so much stimulation going on around us that we forgot how to use our bodies or even listen to our bodies. Over the last couple of nights, my sleep has been And then I decided I'm going to lay in my bed and meditate and figure out what's going on. I'm laying in bed, I'm meditating, I get into my zone. Then I become very mindful of my body, and I realize I feel tension all the way from my lower back to my forehead. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then I realize I got too many pillows. So I just moved the pillow. Last night my sleep was amazing. So all these days I've been ignoring what my body's been saying. I haven't been listening to my body, haven't been sensitive to the needs of the body. And just for one simple move, I just moved my pillow all the way. I had a great night of sleep. Fantastic night of sleep. But we could take it even further. We're talking about feeling a vibe. There's individuals who are like these healers from India who can meet you and just touch your wrist or touch your hand, and they can tell if you're sick, and they can tell you what foods you eat to properly heal yourself, what plants you might need to properly heal yourself, how much sleep you'll need. And we can go even further than that, where some individual can touch you or look at you and know that you're about to be sick and know what you should do to prevent a major illness. Or what if we go even deeper than that? What if you could use these spiritual gifts and spiritual powers to form groups of other individuals around you who can make the world a better place? Or go even deeper than that. What if you could find somebody just by listening to your body, which has been trained to clear your thoughts, to clear away negativity and get rid of all trauma, because trauma affects your body. Get rid of all of that and just use your body as a vessel. Imagine finding the love of your life, your soulmate, connecting with them, and then building a family of other like-minded individuals who could change the world. Because the world is always waiting. The world is always waiting for a savior. Right? The world is always waiting for the Messiah. The Messiah is not a one-time thing. The advent of the Messiah is not a one-time thing. It's going to keep happening. What if you could find the Messiah? What if you are? And you can tap into somebody else. And y'all bring that energy together. And bring balance. I think that's... Because if you have individuals in ancient Africa who could feel the movement of stars that you can't even see, right? You couldn't even see it. They know the shape of atoms, but you can't see it. Their bodies are just the tools that are perfectly tuned to the vibration of the universe, and they can intuit these things. Now that is amazing. That is the path to God. Looking within yourself and seeing the amazing things that the divine put in you. And by having these experiences, you get closer and closer and closer to that indelible mystery of the Supreme. And it's no longer a mystery anymore. It becomes an experience. And that's what I want for all of us. I want all of us to experience the divine, the source, the Supreme, Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, all of that. And we can. But you have to learn how to appreciate your own body and heal your own body. Because like I said, trauma affects the body. Yeah, your bodies do hold. Yep, I read an article about that and broke that down too. Your body holds generational trauma. Yep, a lifetime of work outside of the ego. That's right. Absolutely. Now, once we're able to heal our trauma and connect to the ancestral energy, Keep in mind that our greatest ancestor is God. If we come forth from God, we're the physical descendants of the supreme being, and you tap into your own body, all that genetic memory, you'll go all the way back to the beginning. And that's how you're going to find God. You're not going to find God ignoring the needs of your body. You're not going to find God by leaving your body untrained. You're not going to find God and find your own potential by just letting things be. You really have to. I've studied so many scriptures. I've studied so many books. I've had so many wise people around me. I've listened to so many lectures. I even go to bed at night. I'm so hungry for knowledge. I'll go to bed at night with lectures booming in my ears. I put in my earbuds and go to sleep to a deep, Bobby Hemmett lecture or Phil Valentine lecture or a historical lecture. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of biblical stuff. That's why the Bible keep popping up in my conversations. Because that's how badly I want the knowledge. I've done all of that, but at the same time, I think it's time for me to take it up a notch and look at myself more. This guy Devin has a lot of, there's a lot of mystery in me too. Sometimes somebody will say something about me and I'll be like, oh wow, that's true. A friend of mine, I was talking to my boy Quinn, shout out to my boy Quinn. I was talking to him. I was like, he says to me, yeah, because I think you're like me, you're an empath. And I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I am kind of an empath. But that's something I had never thought about. You just listen to Bobby today? Okay. All right. If you know, you know. But the interesting thing about it is he told me something about me that I had not known. And that's something important because that affects how I treat people. That affects how I allow other people to treat me. I can feel your pain and I'm going to ease your pain because I'm empathic. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate that. So now it's time for me to start looking. It's time for all of us to start looking within ourselves and using that mindfulness and meditation to really get to know ourselves. And like any project, like any big project, bring everybody in. Bring your family in. Free man Maya. Peace and blessings. Bring everybody in. Get a team. When you want to move, what do? You ask your friends, you know what? I'll give y'all some pizza and buy y'all some beer. Help me move these couches in this refrigerator. Right? Right? You do the same thing with yourself. Get a couple people, just have conversations. Me and my boys used to do that years ago. I wish we had kept doing that. Where we would we all get together and sit around and we would like think of one thing that we really appreciated about each other. And the answers will surprise you. Really, you're right. Not everybody has good intentions, but I think that we can sense when somebody's coming from the wrong angle, and we can protect ourselves too. That's the point of the code. The point of the code is to be able to evaluate people quickly. The point of having a moral standard and a righteousness standard is so that we can evaluate people quickly and get out of harm's way. And if we stick to that code, like I have a code of rules, man. When I was young, we used to do all kinds of silly stuff. We used to drive around in cars unregistered, and we used to steal people's license plates, and we used to drink and drive. And I mean, literally drink and drive. I'm not talking about have a few drinks in the bar and then hop in the car and go home. I'm talking about literally behind the wheel of a car with a, Jack and Coke in my hand, drinking while driving. That like insane stuff, and we're just being too reckless, being too foolish. But as I matured, I realized that I need to really keep a close eye on who I allow around me. And I can sense when somebody's energy isn't right, and I just stay away from that. And I need to not become that. Yeah, that's right, Jay. Brotherhood. Had a real tight brotherhood. So this is the goal. The goal and the purpose is to find God within self. Because if you don't understand yourself, you're not going to understand that up there. If you don't understand creation, how can you understand the creator? So it all starts with you. And we've been taught for so long certain things that just condition us to even hate these concepts. Like we've been conditioned to hate money. We've been conditioned, they tell us from a young age, money is the root of all evil. That's why a lot of us is broke, because we've been taught that money is evil. Now we see past that. Now we're running, trying to catch up. Same thing with ourselves. We've been taught that. And I think that's a good thing you said. Stay strong and true to you. A lot of us have been taught that thinking about ourselves on a spiritual path is wrong. But I start off with me. My spiritual path starts with me. I have to make the decision. I have to suffer. I have to sacrifice. I have to know what I need to get rid of. I have to know what to renounce. I have to know where I stand. I have to know how strong I am. Your spiritual journey really is a journey towards yourself. Finding God is a wonderful bonus, but it's really about you trying to find you. All this other stuff is just terminology. It's just symbolism. And we need to really look within ourselves to find ourselves so we can find happiness and find God simultaneously. How many of you ever had an experience where you felt like God was within you or God was near you? And if you haven't, it's okay. Give me a thumbs up if you feel like God has been near you, whatever your concept of God is, or whatever your concept of a divine experience is. Give me a thumbs up. V2? Anybody else? Chris? I'm going to give y'all a thumbs up right now. I felt that. Same thing with y'all. If y'all still watching, give me a thumbs up if you felt like God was near you. Rosanna? Geek Magnet? All right, I see a lot of thumbs up. I see a lot of thumbs up. Kate, Nikki, Dana. Yeah, I think one day we need to discuss that. One day we got to talk about that too. Our experiences with the divine. Okay, Mama B, that's a beautiful dream. It's a beautiful dream. Anna, thanks for the thumbs up. So yeah, we've all had these experiences. We've had these amazing experiences where we feel God is near us. And guess what? God was near us. He was near our bodies. You feel these experiences translated in your body through sensory input. If you can feel the presence of God in this body, then this body has a use, a divine use. You feel like somebody was embracing you and you felt deep emotional pain? Yeah, I've had that too. I've had that too. I had a dream once when I was young. I think I told you guys about this on one of my older live streams. But I had a dream once when I was young where I was in bed asleep and then I saw these two weird beings. Couldn't really see their faces. I could see their wings a little bit. So I knew they were angels, but the wings looked kind of like antennas with like gossamer strung to them. Very strange looking. And they were talking to me about the nature of the power of words and how the power of words is translated as time. So time is the true power in the universe. And it was saying that you can have one word with 2,000 years of power in it, which translates to the spinning of the earth. It was a strange dream. And then I said to them, why your wings look like that? And they said, our wings, these are not really wings. These are trans-dimensional antenna to gather the energy so we can make the jump to heaven. And then I woke up. So I've had some interesting experiences. I'm a believer, not necessarily of religion, but of some deeper mystical element to human existence. But that deeper mystical element to human existence fundamentally is a part of human existence, not a part from it, but a part of it. Embrace your physical experiences too. And don't be ashamed of your own body. Shior Koma, the divine dimensions, the measurement of the Godhead. And that breath of God, that's you. That's the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, the breath that God breathed into you. The Holy Spirit is there. Watch your breath. Watch how you breathe. Take deep breaths. Understand once you understand the breath, once you begin understanding the breath, that's why I'm taking this breath work class starting Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because I want to understand the breath. The breath of life. I want to understand that. Once you understand the breath, you'll learn. It'll open up a whole doorway into your mind about your own potential and about the divine. Yeah, that was a crazy dream, V2. Yeah, that's true. I think that's true. But anyhow, guys, it's getting a little bit late for me, and I gotta wake up early to get the boys to school tomorrow on time. Next week, I want you guys to show up, tell a friend to tell a friend. I mean, bring somebody. Let's keep. Yeah, exactly. Let's keep evolving. How old are my boys? My youngest is 5. My oldest is 7. My oldest will be 8. Wow, it'll be 8 December next month. Whew. Time is flying. But I'm gonna say good night to everybody on Insight Timer. Peace and blessings to all of y'all. Peace and blessings to Instagram. And peace and blessings to YouTube.